Hello, we are here in Los Angeles, California, speaking with Meredith Beal, a patriarch. We are here to ask him how he became the man that he is and how he was able to bless the world with the fruit of his loins.
Well,
Who are you, sir?
I'm Meredith Beal.
Okay.
And how I became who I am in all these years, I'll never know. 88 to be exact. Having been born in a rural country of Texas, Marion County, and later on to Marshall, Texas, where I grew up from about 5 years of age. And after which I graduated from elementary school, went on to high school in the same city, and college in the same city. I left home about 1942 after I graduated from high school, from college, and then went to the East Coast, then into the Marine Corps for a few years, and back to Washington, D.C., where I'd gone originally, and worked with the Marine Corps headquarters for another couple of years as a civilian, and then moved to Chicago, Illinois, and as an insurance agent for another couple of years, and then here to Los Angeles in 1951. And in 1952, I married Meredith Beal. We met and married later, and through the first year, our son Meredith Beal was born, and then I went through various things as churches belonging to the Masonic Lodge, the Elk Lodge, formed a Boy Scout troop, was deacon at a church for several years, and after another church I went to serve as treasurer for another 10, 12 years. And throughout the years my wife and I have been married 58 years as of now. And through that time we've traveled several different places and enjoyed several different things along with all of our camp family, which happens to be here tonight. We appreciate their being here, and we hope there will be many more Christmas together. I don't know what else I could tell you.
Okay.
I could go through some odd.
Could you tell us about your father and your mother?
My mother and father both taught school. They taught school in the rural communities of Marion County, Texas. And in my earliest years, I'm talking about 4 years old, I think, I don't remember but a very little bit of that. I went to school to my mother. And when we moved to Marshall, Texas, they still taught in the country, what we call a country rural area of Marion County. And then I stayed with my cousin and I roomed with a lady in a nearby neighborhood each school year. And we did that for several years until we started with one of our cousins who lived with us. So every school year we had someone living with us in our own house. One of our cousins and their wives. Two different cousins, two different wives at two different times.
Who are we talking about?
Alan McCurry and his wife 1 year, and the second year was Ernest Thomas and his wife. And during the school year, and at the end of the school year, the school year there in town was shorter than the one in which my school year my mother and father taught in was several months shorter than the school year in which I attended school in town. So for about 6 months they would be at our house, and for the last 3 months or probably more, I finished the year at the local school, and that went on until about the 5th grade. And in which my cousin, whose mother was my mother's sister, came to live with us each school year, because his mother worked in an area of down in Houston, Texas, as what they call a farm demonstration agent, and she would travel every day throughout the countryside to teach women how to can food and so forth. And she was the counterpart to a man who would go through the community and teach the men of the area how to kill hogs and such, cattle and raise corn and such. And that went on for several years, after which till I started high school. My cousin was ahead of me, and he finished earlier. And then his mother put him on the campus at Wiley College. So I was there, stayed with my dad's uncle, who was next door. So I stayed about 1 year like that. And I told my mother and father that I didn't need anybody else to help me. So I stayed by myself. The school year that they were in, all day and night, alone. And so I did my own cooking and eating at the restaurant, if instead I didn't cook. So I was into a lot of, not trouble, just activities at school, in school play and such as that. Offhand, I can't think of anything particular, except the first job I had, literally, was down south when I went to, after I had graduated from Bishop College, and worked on an island out in the Gulf of Mexico.
How was it out there?
Some of that.
And what did you do?
I was a laborer, working 10, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we worked there for about 2 months, that's about it. But in the meantime, we were in pairs, little teams. We were a team of 3. And a Hispanic fellow, another fellow, and I. And we at one time were working, putting roofing material from inside the barracks up to a third guy who was handed down inside. And that time, we take a bundle and hand it to him. We got down to the last 2 bundles, and that a rattlesnake stuck his head up between them. And we were under this barracks, which was about 5 feet tall or less. So we were unhunched. So I killed this rattlesnake with a 2x4 bare hand. I never will forget that. And I would almost shut it down thinking about it. And that was 60 years ago again.
Wow.
So that thing followed my having been working on a train. I overlooked that. I worked on a train running from Houston to Los Angeles, and I was the fourth cook. The fourth cook washed many dishes. That was the fourth cook job. It was just a title. And so on one day, I'm slicing bread. We used to have to slice bread because bread would come in solid loaves. You slice the bread and serve it out to the diners. And the train suddenly hit something, I don't know what, but it, bam. And I went the full length of the kitchen, and the butcher knife still in my hand. Passed by the third cook, the second cook, and the first cook, and then stumbled over a milk crate. Still had the butcher knife in my hand. And I think about that again all day.
Yeah.
You know? Another item, I want to skip over some things. I was working for the Veteran Administration in Washington, D.C. as clerk typist. And that's where I started. And one day, I was headed home on train. So the train went from Washington, D.C. to St. Louis on the Baltimore to Ohio Railway. And then you would have to change trains and change stations and change trains. So you get off and go about a block away and get on another train at another station. So I got off first, and I was the first one on the train. And there in the South Bend, the blacks sit in the front of the train, behind the baggage car. That was a locomotive. And but on the bus you sat in the rear. So I went down and sat down in the front where I was supposed to sit. And pretty soon a young fellow, he wasn't all that young, but he was older than I am, 25, 35 years old. And was not long before the coach filled up. People started standing from right there on the back. Conductor came through and started taking tickets. He started taking up tickets. He took ours first, and come back over again. He says, "You boys are gonna have to get up." Now he said that, And so the other fellow was sitting next to me and said, he said, well, you hear what he said? I said, yeah, I heard what he said. I'm not getting up. And I think my temperature was 150. So he got up. He was a big fella too. I'm talking about not only tall, big. And so I stood there still looking out the window like nothing going on. You know? And they stood there, this fella, there was a white couple standing there. And he told us we were going to get up and let them have a seat. And there was this fella and his wife, and they had a baby in her arms, she did, and a little boy about 2 years old standing. And so they saw I wasn't going to get up, so she sat down. And she put the little boy that was people like in between us and that little boy in the hand in her lap. And I acted like I didn't even see him. So it so happened, nothing happened, because the conductor had gone on to the next coach probably. But it was such an incident that could have boiled into something, you know, if it had been such as a Rover Park situation, where they were there just holding, maybe the bus didn't even move while they were doing that. So that's some of the most uneventful, well, what you might call the most eventful things that happened in my early life. Then I go